understand that one.
For physical health, she said.
All right. So I'm supposed to do this to the camera guy, right?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we will begin the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee on Monday, February 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. And I will ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly, Chairwoman. Alderman at Large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair, sitting in his chair.
Here.
Alderman Tyler Govia.
Here.
Alderman Thomas Lopez.
I'm here.
I am here, Alderman Tebow, Derek Tebow. We also have with us Alderman from Ward 9, John Sullivan, and Mayor Donchis.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak? I do not see anyone. So we will go straight to the interviews. Mr. Mayor, would you like to bring your candidates forward?
Yes.
So just on the docket, we have the Board of Assessors and the Ethics Review, but it looks like you just have the Ethics Review members here this evening.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So we will skip out of order and go right to that, and I will hand the floor over to you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to I am nominating and introduce you, many of you know him already, but that's to Mike Tabasco. Mike served 8 years on the Board of Aldermen from Ward 5. Been very active in the community for a long, long time. He is one of the principal supporters and active people within the McCarthy Foundation, which raises money for scholarships and other very worthy causes. He's also been involved in a number of other community organizations, PAL, other things. He is retired, but he worked in industry for a long time. He's lived in Nashua for a long time down in the South End. Mike Tabasco has previously served on the Ethics Committee. In fact, were the ordinances which govern this committee similar to others, which say you continue to serve until someone is appointed to replace you, which is normally the case, he would still be on it because he was on it, and he was the last person, one of the last people on it. So really, this is a reappointment to the Ethics Committee. And of course, during his tenure on the Board of Aldermen, he proved himself to be very objective, fair-minded, very, analytical, and I think, and he fits this position very well. And with that, I will, introduce Mr. Tabasco, and he can tell you anything else about himself that he wishes, and then he's of course available for questions.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Mayor, for the kind words. As the Mayor indicated, I was the last time the Ethics Committee was in service. I was a member of that group and didn't realize that the term had expired until I found out I was getting reappointed. So, who reads all the fine details? But anyway, it's and I did see when I looked that up that the terms do expire in 3 years, so it's a pretty specific part of the ordinances, and it's one of those committees that not a lot of activity, and I think that's good. But when something comes up, it needs to be dealt with in a consistent and fair and as even-handed manner as possible. And one of the things that struck me in the last time when I was serving was that the committee really was dedicated to making sure that the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and that's something that I appreciated. So beyond that, I guess I'd turn it back to you guys for any questions of me. and go from there.
Okay, thank you very much. I will open up for questions. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tabasco, do we know each other?
No.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to establish that.
Until tonight.
Until tonight, until we met tonight. I just wanted to establish that before I ask my question. So, we got an email the other day that said, do not appoint Mr. Tabasco. And there is some belief from that email that they don't think that you should be on this committee and that you may have some leanings one way or the other. There is going to be things coming up, I believe, based on what I see in print, that will go to the Ethics Committee. How do you respond to that for someone who thinks that you shouldn't be on this committee?
I guess I would say, without some further detail, I have no response. Yeah, I mean, pure objectivity is kind of an impossible dream. But I think that balancing and weighing the evidence is in its own right, the way you deal with that. And I would assume that if somebody doesn't want me to be on the committee, they're entitled to that opinion.
Follow up? Yep.
Thank you, and I appreciate that answer. So I want to thank you for coming up to step up again to be reappointed because, like I said, there is stuff that's probably going to come up, and even though it's not often that the Ethics Committee meets, I'm afraid that it's going to be probably something coming to the Ethics Board. So I thank you, and because I know it won't be an easy task at hand. So thank you.
Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great to meet you earlier before the meeting. Same kind of question as Alderman Tebow brought up before. Is, in your words, are you able to put aside any personal bias to look at straight facts and come to a conclusion on matters like that, like you would be seeing on the Ethics Committee?
Absolutely. That's kind of the definition of if you're on that kind of a committee, you really kind of go into it understanding that that's part of the deal.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Lopez and then Alderman Sullivan.
I would just observe that I do know you. I met you when I was volunteering for Powell. I think Marion Malizi Goya was probably the first alderman that I met, but you were the one she introduced me to. And I think your background and your quote political leanings are as much an asset that's needed on this committee because you understand what it's like to be an alderman. You know what it's like to make legislation. You're familiar with the process, and you're not just somebody picked for no reason other than they don't know anyone else. Like, I appreciate the credibility that you're bringing to this, the credentials you have, the fact that you did it before, are aware of the process, and if we do have issues that are coming before the Ethics Committee, that you'll be able to stay focused on the role and the system and the needs of the people of Nashua that 4 terms being elected to, you've been recognized as capable of doing. So I appreciate you stepping forward to do this. I know as an experienced alderman, you probably know you're potentially wading yourself into some controversy or whatever, and are still here for it nonetheless. So I appreciate your stepping forward.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tabasco, I do want to say, first of all, thank you for your service to the city. I looked at your experience and ran for office, and you're affiliated with a lot of great organizations. So first off, thank you very much. Outside of your civic duty that you've done, you've also worked in business for a long time. Outside of the ethics committee that you served on, did you ever do any type of ethics training affiliated with any of the businesses you were in? Do they have to put you through any ethics trainings?
I wouldn't say formal training, but I can recall at least a few times where we had to go through in different eras it was called sensitivity training, and other times it was called ethics awareness training, and it was a big company that I worked for, so there were it seems like every couple of years there was a new mandate that we had to take, whatever sort of training classes were the thing of the moment, and ethics was part of that. But I think where your question was coming from, it's not like I took any classes in school or anything specific
Right.
towards that.
Yeah, okay. Follow-up, please?
Yes, yep.
In preparation for tonight, I looked at all of the candidates for all the positions on LinkedIn, and I did notice that you were affiliated with a lot of people that were in city government currently, and they had endorsed you for various skills. And my question is in line with my colleagues prior, in that your experience, or how would you feel if there were an ethics violation brought up against some of those people that you're affiliated with on LinkedIn and that have endorsed you for skills that you represent?
Again, without knowing the detail, I mean, that's the first thing I would want to know is, what is the situation? But yeah, it would, clearly if it's, somebody, a close friend, I'd probably recuse myself. If there's very specific criteria within the ethics committee ordinances about that. So if it's that close, you'd have to take a look at that.
Sure.
If it's not, if it's just, a LinkedIn connection that I may or may not actually know,
Right.
as we all have a few of those, you deal with it as it comes up, and you know what you're there for, so you do it the best you can.
Sure. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. All set. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I will say that I have known Mike for a very long time. I served with him on the Board of Aldermen starting in 2008, and can say that he has a fair and open mind. I don't have any specific questions, because my history with you is that I know that you will always approach something with a fair mind. And so for me, I have no problem reappointing you to this position, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to give it back to you for...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've also nominated Lindsay Robinson. Ms. Robinson is a lawyer with Shaheen and Gordon here in Nashua, and we're very happy to have them in our downtown. She's a graduate of the University of New Hampshire School of Law, and has held various legal positions prior to joining Shaheen and Gordon. She's on the New Hampshire Supreme Court Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Board, and a member of the Bar Association, the Women's Bar Association, and attended college at St. Anselm's. And I think in her profession, she needs to be able to take an objective viewpoint towards many different situations, and she has indicated a willingness to serve on the ethics board. She has not been involved in city government or in any way here before, and I think is interested, now that she's located in Nashua professionally, is interested in becoming more involved in helping to serve the community. And as a lawyer in town, she's well suited to this ethics board in this position. So I will ask Ms. Robinson to say anything further she would like to about herself.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you everyone for having me today. As he stated, my name is Lindsay Robinson. I am a Massachusetts resident, but I have been committed to New Hampshire since I started my undergraduate at St. Anselm College in 2010. I've worked professionally only here in New Hampshire. I've been in Nashua working since 2018, so coming up on 5 years, and I love the community of Nashua. It's been an amazing place to work. I am very involved with some of the nonprofits in the area, and I'm committed to serving the this community, and I will be in Nashua for the foreseeable future. When I made the decision to join Shaheen and Gordon, they decided to open an office here in Nashua, so we are here to stay.
Okay, thank you very much. I will open it up.
And if you look at those improvements they made, they're not going to be leaving soon.
No.
So-
Yeah.
Because if they do, Martha's will be really mad.
I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Out of fairness, the same question I asked Mr. Tabasco. Are you able to look at these sort of ethics complaints and separate any personal bias you might have to look at the facts and come to conclusions?
Yes, I mean, I do this on an everyday basis. Ethics is a huge part of my profession. We have rules of professional conduct. I deal with ethics on a pretty daily basis. And as individuals, we usually have our own personal beliefs, but it's, as a lawyer, we have to separate it every single day and do our best to make sure that we are representing either people fairly in their situation or providing an unbiased opinion.
Thank you.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did not get any emails about you, so you're off the hook with that question. I just wanted to thank you for stepping forward, especially someone who hasn't done it before and hasn't been involved in Nashua as far as this scene here. I really appreciate it because, like I said to Mr. Basco, it's stuff's coming. So it'll be great to have somebody different, somebody that no one knows, and so just thank you. I appreciate it.
Alderman Lopez.
I mean, I feel like if you're good enough for the New Hampshire Supreme Court Advisory Advocacy Group, like your resume is very, very impressive. And looking at the number of different groups that you're involved in, it's almost a blizzard of just a lot of way outside of just your working grind, earning your money, whatever. I see women's advocacy. I see a lot of attention to justice. I see a lot of willingness to chair, which is fundamentally an objective role where you have to, if it's done well, you have to be fair-minded and let the conversation proceed as opposed to steering it or managing it in a particular direction. So I'm really impressed by your resume. With respect to Mr. Tabasco, former Alderman Tabasco, I think you're bringing a lot of credibility to the Ethics Committee. I think you're a great fit. You're a great nomination on the part of the mayor. And I just appreciate you being willing to add another thing to your obviously busy and successful plate. Also, welcome to downtown.
Thank you.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I also checked you out on LinkedIn, and you didn't mention that you speak Russian.
I do, yes.
Okay, so.
Not
so at least-
fluently.
What's that?
Not fluently.
Well,
but-
it said on LinkedIn elementary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank
Do
you
you?
for stepping forward.
Do you speak Russian?
No.
Oh.
I didn't, yeah, I thought maybe we'd just
He
get.
does English.
Now that we have you, we don't have to.
Yeah.
That's right. No back and forth in Russian. You had mentioned in your opening remarks that you deal with ethical standards. I would imagine there's a code of conduct for the attorneys at not only the law firm that you work at presently, but in the past as well. Is there a situation where perhaps there was an uncomfortable situation that you could describe for us where you had to maybe hold somebody accountable for their ethics and in violation of code of conduct? And what was that like for you?
Thankfully, I've always worked with wonderful, hardworking, ethical lawyers. Lawyers typically take this very seriously and often get anxiety over the thought of potentially violating a rule. Our rules are incredibly strict. So on a professional front, I haven't had to deal with it. I've been in situations where I've had maybe clients who may wanted me to do something that I was concerned about, and I obviously will not represent someone who wanted me to do things that I consider unethical. So having to make those decisions. And then I have served on numerous boards and organizations over the years. So ethics have come up in the past, or issues with ethics. And I've had to make really tough decisions. I was very involved with student government when I was at St. Anselm College. I was actually the Secretary of Internal Procedures, which was the ethics committee of the organization. And these were students that I lived next door to, I shared meals with in the dining hall, and I was faced with really tough decisions as a student but I always kind of separated my personal beliefs as well as my any relationships that I may have in the future with these individuals from the decisions that had to be made.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to just say, I was very impressed with your resume. I think that you obviously have a very good background for this, and I think the mayor chose wisely with both candidates. So thank you both for coming up, and we will take up your nomination in a little bit. So thank you. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
as Mr. Mancaro is not able to make it, we'll probably table that till the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we have application to license hawkers, peddlers, itinerant vendors.
We have none.
So appointments by the mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the following reappointment to the Airport Authority. Pharrell Woods, with a term to expire January 10th, 2028.
Is there any comment? Yep, Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly, this is the commission that I serve as liaison to the Board of Aldermen, spend a lot of time with them. Mr. Woods has been a fantastic chairman, always willing to talk to me about issues that are important to them. I think he's perfect fit for them, and I think it's great that we're keeping him on it.
Great. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the following new appointments to the Ethics Review Committee. Lindsay N. Robinson, with a term to expire January 10th, 2026, and Michael J. Tabasco, with a term to expire January 24th, 2026.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the following reappointments to the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee: Pamela Anderson, Jeff Hannigan, Paula Lockhead, and Tricia Mullen, all with terms to expire January 10th, 2026.
Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. And did you want to table?
Yeah, there's nothing I want to take off the table.
No, did you want to table the
Oh,
other one?
Minkara, yeah. So I'd like to make a motion to table the following new appointment to the Board of Assessors: Abdallah J. Minkara, with an indefinite term to serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. All right, unfinished business?
None,
New business resolutions?
none,
New business ordinances?
none.
Any taking anything off the table, anyone? Seeing none. Next is public comment. I don't see anyone in the public. General discussion. Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I just had a question about, on the Ethics Review Committee, you have one term that starts on January 10th and the other one starts on January 24th. Any reason for I'm just curious why they're staggered like that.
I thought this.
To be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
But certainly, you know, we can get an answer for you before the Board of Aldermen meeting, but if I had to guess, it might be when how it was staggered originally. But I'm taking wild guesses here, so we'll find to see if we can get an answer.
Okay. General curiosity is all.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other general discussion? Seeing none, remarks by Alderman. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carries, and we adjourned at 7:25 PM.